Hello, my name is Stephen Robinson, and I'm going to be showing you how to use the software GNS3. It's a network simulator that runs on a virtual machine. The virtual machine software I'll be using for this, it will be Oracle VM VirtualBox. So if you don't already have it, I'll show you where you can find it, download it. Just hit downloads after searching VirtualBox, and depending on what platform you're using, you'll click one of these. So I assume most of you will be on Windows, so you'll click Windows Host, and then that will download, and then you'll be able to install VirtualBox. Alright, so I already have VirtualBox downloaded, so what we're going to want to do before we do anything else is you want to make sure that on your motherboard in your BIOS that virtualization is enabled. This is important, otherwise it just won't work. And you can do that by just hitting F2, delete, or whatever key your computer tells you to use to get into the BIOS. Look for, on Intel machines, it should just say Intel virtualization, and just click it from disabled to enabled. And then on AMD machines, it'll be SVM, and that's the virtual machine setting in the BIOS for AMD. So you want to make sure that is enabled as well. And another thing we're going to need to do before we install GNS3 is we're going to have to go to System Properties and create an environment variable. Now I already have this environment variable, VBox install path. This is just so that GNS3 can find it once you install it, and you'll be able to use VBox to actually run the virtual machine. You can do this by just hitting New, give it a name, and then browse directory. Now it's normally in program files, and it'll be under Oracle. Then you'll hit Oracle, you'll hit VirtualBox, and you'll hit OK, and that's it. And then you'll give it a name, and then you'll hit OK once you're done. And this is what it'll look like. You'll have this, and I'll give it a pathway so we can actually use it. So go ahead and put that away. So now we need to get the GNS3 and the GNS3 VM. So we'll do that by going here. You want to search up GNS3 and then the download for the actual GUI software, and then we'll also want to get the GNS3 VM. First thing you want to do is get the GNS3 VM, and for VirtualBox we'll download that one. You can also use it for VMware Workstation, Infusion, and ESXi, and Hyper-V. It is recommended to use VMware Workstation Pro, but since that costs money and it gives you a few more features, but if you're just getting started, then it's fine to just use VirtualBox. Or you can also use VMware Workstation Player, which is a free version of VMware Workstation Pro. So you'll download this, and then once that is downloaded, this is what it'll look like. You'll unzip it. We'll go ahead and we'll just open up VirtualBox. What we're going to do is we're going to import appliance. Okay, now we're going to look for this. It is under my desktop, GNS3 VM. Let it open. Next. And all this you'll want to keep the same. So just hit import. And this will just take a few minutes to import, and then once that's done, then we'll get into the actual GNS3 installation. As you can see, it is powered off. You can just go ahead and power it on real quick. So start, normal start. Okay, alright, so we're going to have to change the network settings. So you need it to be on NAT, and then we were going to want host only adapter. And then you'll just hit OK. And then it should start up. Let's begin the boot. And it should pop up with the screen that allows you to change the IP address of it and all these other different things. It's just like a little GUI that you'll use your arrow keys to navigate once it comes up. Alright, so here it is. As you can see, we have our GNS3 and our IP address there. Hit OK, and this allows you to configure a bunch of stuff. Now we won't need to configure any of this for this initial setup, but if you were to get a little bit more into GNS3, there's a lot of things you can do here. So next we're going to want to minimize this, and then we're going to want to set up GNS3. And you can do that from that first link that I showed you, the download. It'll take you here. And now you'll want to create an account. You'll hit download, and it'll hit Windows, but before this it'll ask you to create an account, and then it'll allow you to actually download it. Now I already have it all downloaded, so I'll just go ahead, do the install. Okay, hit next. I agree. Next. Next. You just want to kind of keep all this default, wherever you want to put it, call whatever you want. Hit next. Now there are a few things that this will install. It will install Wireshark, Solar Putty, WinPCAP. So this is just another setup process you'll have to go through. It's pretty quick. And then you have this one. You don't need to click anything here, just keep the same. This is NPCAP. These are just all proprietary, not proprietary, but prerequisite software that you'll need to actually run GNS3 for it to work. So once this is done, it'll pop up. And since we already have the virtual machine running, we won't have to worry about it looking for it. So you want to make sure you'll have the virtual machine set up first before you actually start up GNS3. So if you end up installing GNS3 first, you can go back, or you can just hit do not start on startup once it is finished installing. And I'll show you that checkbox. It's right there. So if you end up installing this, just don't start it immediately. Wait until you get the VM all set up and working before you do that. So what I did there is you need to actually hit next and finish for it to actually finish. So it'll also download Wireshark, Solar Putty. There's a bunch of other stuff you can get with it, but it just kind of does it all automatically, so keep that in mind. So next, it'll ask you if you want this SolarWinds standard tool set. It's got a bunch of stuff like SolarWinds, IP browser, a bunch of other little tools you can just play around with if you want. But for this setup, I will hit no. It requires you to make an account, so it is a little fiddly, but we do not need it. So if you do not have the VirtualBox installed or the VirtualBox machine running, click this and do not start GNS3 yet. Wait until it is all running before you actually start GNS3. But since we have it running, we can go ahead and start it. And then I'll just take you to the thank you page and go to Marketplace, the Academy, and documentation for anything that you need if you have any problems. And it takes a minute. So here we are. So this is Setup Wizard. We're going to want to run applications in the virtual machine. You can do it on your local computer if you want, but it is recommended to do it in a virtual machine. So go ahead and hit next. Hit next. There we go. Alright, so you're going to get this error message. It's just going to pop up. And it'll give you a little deal on VMware, but we're going to go with VirtualBox. Now, how many cores do we want to give this? Let's give it 4 cores. So in my system, I have 16 logical cores and 32 gigabytes of RAM. So it's pretty good for virtualization. That is the optimal for the software. But it's not It's not necessary. I believe you just need a dual core CPU with at least 4 gigs of RAM, and you'll be able to run it. But it is recommended to have at least 8. So we'll make it 4 gigs of RAM with 4 cores. Just hit next. Okay, finish. Alright, so this is the server summary. And this is the GNS3, as you can see, is waiting to connect. And once it connects, it will actually be able to start up. So now that GNS3 is fully installed, I shall show you how to navigate it and how to test and make sure it is working. So once you open it up, it will start up running the GNS3 VM. And it'll just do this automatically, even if it's powered off. So we'll go ahead, give this project a name. So, project. Okay. And it'll ask you that whenever you open it up to start a new project, or you can open a new project from that panel. And the GNS VM is starting up, and it'll just take a few seconds for the VM to actually boot up. Here it is. Okay, now it's up and running, and we'll see this turn from gray to green. Let's minimize that. Now that it's green, now we can start putting in end devices. So we're just going to go switches. So what we're going to do, we're just going to plop in an Ethernet switch. It's going to ask you to choose a server. You can either run it locally on your desktop, or you can run it into the GNS3 VM. And that's what we'll be doing. So there it is. And we'll see it pop up below right here. Switch 1. And we're going to just add a couple of endpoints. And we'll want to run these on the GNS3 VM as well. Okay. There we go. Now, these are the 3 nodes we're going to be using to test to make sure this works. So we're going to connect them using the connecting tool. Ethernet 0, Ethernet 0, and Ethernet 0 to Ethernet 1. Now the next step is to hit play. So this will turn on all the nodes. As you can see, it went from red to green in the server summary. We'll go ahead, go into PC1. Bring us to the PuTTY, the terminal, and to give it an IP address, we do IP 10.10.0.1, 255.255.255.0, and then it'll be configured. We'll minimize that. We'll go to PC2, just give it an IP of 10.10.0.2. This is just to test and make sure everything is working correctly. Alright, now we're just going to ping. Just to verify. Okay. Wait. Ah. That's why. PC2 is in here. So let's just get rid of PC2. Yeah. And we'll just throw this here. Instead of that, GNS3 VM. Now I can actually communicate with it and we won't run into that issue. Net 0. Go ahead and hit play. Just give it IP 10.10.0.2. Set a mask of /24. And once that's done, we'll go ahead and attempt to ping again. 1, And there we go, we are getting a ping. So that just verifies that there is actual communication going on in the VM, and that is working just fine. So go ahead and just close that session. Alright, so next part of this video is I'm going to show you how to actually add routers, Cisco routers. So I've already got a few here. So we have just some catalysts and regular switches here, some routers and switches. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to add them. We want to go to Edit, Preferences. It's under Dynamaps iOS Routers. And the way to do this is you're going to want to download bin files. You can either extract bin files off actual Cisco equipment, or you can find them online. There's lots of resources and things that you can find just by looking up iOS routers for Dynamaps, and you can get the bin files for pretty much any router and switch you want. Go to New, and then we're going to want to run this iOS router on the GNS3 VM. Hit Next. So next we're going to hit New Image, or we can hit Existing Image. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go to Desktop, have a folder called Bin Files, and you can just pick whatever you want here. So let's just go with this one, the C725. Alright, and it'll decompress that, and then we'll just hit Next. You can name it whatever you want. None of this really matters. You want to keep that the same. And I'll hit Next. Okay, so we'll just add a 1 at the end. There we go. Default RAM, just keep that the same. Alright, here we are. So now these are the slots. So this is a fast Ethernet module. So like in Packet Tracer, you can add modules on the actual equipment. You can do the same here. You do the setup, and you can also edit them, and you can change the modules out. So we will add 16. So this is just 16 Ethernet switches, and then we can add just another fast Ethernet, just to show you. So these are the serial ports, so we'll just add one serial port. We don't really need many more. Alright, now for this next part, it's pretty important. The idle PC, you want to just click idle PC finder. This will take a minute, but this will just come up with the idle PC number, and most of the bin files that will come will give you a recommendation of what to put in there, but you'll see what it looks like. It's just like it looks like a MAC address, and basically if you put in something wrong, or if you just put in something random, it could crash your computer. So just hit idle PC finder, it'll figure it out, and it'll work just fine. Alright, so it's going to be using this. Alright, so we'll hit finish. And there we go. So now we have C37251, and then we have C3725. So you can name whatever you want. You can call them a switch. So I can go here to edit, memory disks. So we can change the RAM, we can change all this stuff if we want to. We can change the slots very easily. A lot of different things we can do. And we can change the symbol. So let's say we want this to be, alright, you can just make this something classic. So you can make it a firewall symbol if you want, but it's not a firewall. Let's see. So this is the one it has right now. We can just make it something simple. So we can just make it look like a, where is it? Switch. There we go. And that's what it'll look like. We'll just hit OK. And now it's got a different icon. Alright, so we'll just go ahead, exit out there. Don't forget to hit OK and save it. So now it shows up. Now we can just drag and drop this in. And there we go. So now I'm going to open the project. Here we go. And this is just a simple topology I made. So we just have 2 routers. They're just using RIP, 2 switches down here, and then 2 PCs at the end. So I'll go ahead and just show you. Just get rid of these. So when you hit play, they'll all start up. And you'll see them all over here starting up, and you'll see your CPU and RAM usage for your VM just shoot up a little bit. Alright, so we have this button here. So this allows us to toggle on and off the interfaces, so we can see what interface is which, and we can move them around. This button is the console, so this will open every single console for all the nodes, or you can just double click them and open a single node. So if I just hit this, it will just open them all up. We can just minimize all those. And then here we have the pause, so we can suspend the nodes, and this will just pause it. And then we have stop, which will completely stop everything that is going on. Just go ahead and put it back on the play. And then we can reload the network with this. And then we can add notes, insert pictures, we can draw shapes and lines, and we can lock and unlock items. We can also zoom and zoom out and take a screenshot. So a lot of similar features to the packet tracer. So this is the routers, and then we have switches. Then we have our end devices. These are the security devices, so this would be like firewalls. And then all devices. And then we have the connections to make the actual connections. Alright, so just to kind of show off what else you can add here, I added this. So this is a June OS Olive. This doesn't run on the actual GNS3. This runs in its own VM, but you're able to access it through GNS3. So go ahead and open this up. Start it up. It should already be started up. Yeah, okay. Here we are. As you can see, so this is June OS. Go ahead and type in root. This one doesn't have a password, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Just log in root. Type in CLI. And this just allows you to just kind of explore other OSs of other vendors. And you can find different iOSs of different vendors online. The GNS3 has a marketplace where you can look and see what else they have there. There are firewalls and other Windows servers, Linux machines, Ubuntu. You can get a whole bunch of stuff. So I just hit question mark and it shows me all the commands I can do. Configure. And then that brings me into the actual configure terminal of the switch. And this shows you everything you can do here. So it's a good way to just introduce yourself to other vendors' equipment. It's very similar to Cisco, the way it works. It's just slightly different syntax, and that's about it. So we'll go ahead. Get out of that. Alright. And that pretty much concludes with everything I want to show you. As you can see, we have our routers here, and they work just like any other Cisco router. Enable T, and there you go. Show run. Do show run. Give us our configuration. Now I don't have anything actually set up here, but you can easily just set up a simple 2-tier network very easily, and you can make more complex networks. And you can have other devices such as firewalls added to this. You can find those online. And that concludes my video. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.